dan shire de nyon shire de jev shane biar ka on meidan ngacharo ka shane shankel min si was ben ka dak bin gat mari inay ko ben munda inay ko lung sienda inay ko ben munda mashar mashako ase jaganwar ase janaytinas ase jaramiran ase janaytingaw Jabon tuni wal kanyo abon kating Enunan jabon tuni wal kanyo abon kating Amun me shakashusin keruntingwan Amun me shakashusin konwar kangwan Mirona ba Bakalusin, bisanga ba? Bakashusin, mirona ba? Kon bakalusin, bisanga ba? Bakashusin, uswara lo, wang sa katsura siyanga da. Liuni ni siyang, ay, shar siyang ni siyang, Ndenganin, nang sa katsukan markawan. Kasa Sudan, ay, you got the sound, you. I know not your bond, you are going to want to do. Shar kasela oud kasela gal kasela oshede tim diar de konchilon fin kashet mishan war kana jang kajurti gong kwen wolle gwara kwen wolle shagda kwen wolle gondong hey shuj nei konaitina
inni ana Sudan إني أنا السودان أرض السودان هذه يدي ملأى بألوان الورود قطفتها من معبدي ملأى بألوان الورود قطفتها من معبدي قلبي إفريقيا التي داست حصون المعتدي من قلبي إفريقيا التي داست حصون المعتدي خطت بعزم شعوبها آفاق فجر أو حديد
These are the South Sudan voices, brought to you by Ruka Music.
Mashakil katir fi dunya de anagi kore selile rahuna aula tena kulumendu baba
wabana tena waduru mama
abutumon mutu jalumon ikaba kuliyo umon gikorele le asan kankali abutumon girita wokyalde satuma entu mama kwele papa kyalde agaton sambala panate Maindi sabili Biar Lade, Rabba Bigatakian,
Banade kulu talakasilan. Oh, kedeni na deretu yatanina. Makili matarabuna.
Ashan Yalde, Satumenu Baba, Ulema.
Assalamu alaikum. Good morning, good afternoon, viewers of the Voice of the People Forum in Facebook and YouTube. Aidan, those are actually listening from the clubhouse. Welcome to the Voice of the People Forum. Let me say good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. And I think also it's good night, I think, for Australia. Please share the video. Share the video in the Facebook, and also those in the clubhouse also keep liking the video. Let me welcome you all. خلينا نرحب بكم جميعا. والليلة إننا ضيف بتاعنا مهم جدا. We have very important guests, and for the first time for him to be with us here in the Voice of the People Forum. Please share the video. It will be with us this morning, Dr. Peter Biar in the Voice of the People Forum, and he will be live here with us in Facebook and YouTube also, and it will be voiced in Clubhouse. Those in Clubhouse, share the live video, and let me welcome, before actually my guest, our guest actually is in the studio with us, but before we bring him up, please share the video. Nasali Facebook. An interview I couldn't be English. I really don't know. Dr. Peter Biari speak Arabic, but actually the interview basically it will be in English. And yesterday also there is a kind of request from some people on the Facebook were sending me message. Let Dr. Peter Biari speak in the Arabic, so the message can reach to people of South Sudan. I don't know, but Dr. Taban, he speak English, but we'll try, let him also try to mix it somehow when he's answering the question in Arabic, so also the message can go to the people of South Sudan. Please share the video. And before actually I put the statement and to welcome Dr. Peter Biar on the stage, let me welcome my colleague, my co-host in Clubhouse, my brother Amigo, and I want him to say some word before actually I introduce Dr. Peter Biar Ajak to the viewers of the Voice of the People Forum in Facebook and YouTube, Clubhouse, South Sudan Political Club. So Amigo, good morning to you, my brother, and just you can say something before we proceed.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you so much, my brother Edward. And also, let me welcome Dr. Peter Biar Ajak. It's an honor to be with us today in the Voice of the People, and also through the Clubhouse and the YouTube. And let me welcome all the audience here in the Clubhouse, and also the people who are watching from the Facebook and the YouTube. Today we're going to have a very fruitful discussion with Dr. Biar, and once again, welcome to our platform. Thank you, Brother Edward. You can take it.
Yeah, thank you so much, my brother and my co-host, Comrade Amigo. And good morning to you. And also let me greet our audience in South Sudan Political Club in Clubhouse. And please share our video, share our live audio. We have very important guests for the first time to be with us here in Voice of the People Forum live on Facebook and YouTube, and also through the South Sudan Political Club in the Clubhouse. Dr. Peter Biar Ajak is a scholar, former political detainee, and permanent activist who actually has waged a non-violence struggle for a democratic South Sudan for years. I think many of you were following like 3 years ago when Dr. Peter Biar actually was campaigning for Generation Exit. Many people are aware about that. And that campaign actually it led national security in South Sudan to put him in the jail for complete 2 years. Today, Dr. Peter Biarajak will be with us here to try to chat with us actually and talk about the current situation in the country. But after the recent events in United States and the statement of Deputy Mayor of Juba, Mr. Tiok Mayardit, that anyone who protests in Juba will be actually shot to death. My question will be to the main question of this discussion to Dr. Peter Biarajak. It will be his non-violence, his struggle is still viable in South Sudan. That is the main question. And actually, because Dr. Peter Biar Ajak was campaigning for non-violence in South Sudan, as the same as well, me too doing here in social media, campaigning for the peaceful revolution. So that is the connection between me and Dr. Peter Biar Ajak. So Dr. Peter Biar, welcome to our forum. Good morning, doctor.
Good morning, Brother Edward Achek. And good morning also to Amigo, who is also moderating the discussion in the clubhouse. It's really a great honor for me to accept this invitation and to be present for this discussion today with the voice of the people. Let me start, first of all, Brother Edward, by thanking you personally, your colleague Amigo, and all the viewers and the supporters of the voice of the people for everything that you have been doing for the people of South Sudan, for the good of our country, and for me personally. I remember when I was detained, I've heard from a lot of sources that the minute that I was detained, you and others in this group began speaking up, making sure that people were aware of the situation I was going through. And you campaigned throughout the 2 years that I was in jail until I was released. I'm grateful to the people of South Sudan for their support, especially the young people. Without that support, I don't think I would be here today. But because of the support and what you have shown, the awareness that you raise, I am alive today. And that is the kind of South Sudan we want to see. Many of you are not even members of Dinka tribe. Many of you have no connection with me at all. The only connection we have is that we are South Sudanese. And that connection was enough for many of you who did not even know me personally to campaign for me, to write messages, to reach out to your congressmen, to your senators here in the United States. And all of that effort is what has saved my life. So I'm grateful to you all. And I invite all of you to continue what you have been doing and what you have done for me, for others who are still behind bars, like our brother Kwelagwer, the Abuna, Abraham Chol, and others who are suffering injustice in South Sudan. When we only see that label of being a South Sudanese, and that encourages us to act, we really build that bond of brotherhood. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Peter Biarajak. Welcome to Voice of the People Forum. Amigo, before I go forward, do you want to say anything to Doctor?
You can proceed. I will come later.
Yeah, thank you, Dr. Peter, and really, I'm so glad actually, and let me appreciate accepting for being with us here and talk to the people of South Sudan. The first question actually, let's talk about, I want your opinion about the extension of the RCs. The government, they said in the roadmap, 27% of the agreement, of the peace agreement, has been implemented actually in 44 months. The main question to you, the remaining is 73 of the agreement. Actually, they failed to implement it in actually 44 months. So how come the 73 will be implemented in 24 months? Dr. Peter Biaraja.
Let me be very honest with you, Brother Edward, and say that I'm extremely disappointed by the events that are going in Juba. I'm outraged as a South Sudanese and as someone who has also struggled to see a better South Sudan. All of us, as people of South Sudan, who are alive today, we are the fathers of this country. We all contributed equally. Some people fought in the battlefields, others they marched, others they contributed food, they contributed um, cows, others they carried weapons, they carried logistics. All of us, as people of South Sudan, we did everything that we could to ensure that the struggle succeed. We are the custodians of this country. But what has happened since then, certain individuals who find themselves in position of power have hijacked our struggle and they have turned it against us. I'm not surprised at all that our president Salva Kiir and Riek Machar would extend the extension. They would extend their mandate for additional 2 years. This is what I expected. And it was one of the reasons why I rejected to participate in the negotiation of the revitalized agreement. I was invited from the very beginning, even when the consultation process was going on. But I knew back then, deeply in my heart, that this agreement will not solve the problem that the people of South Sudan face. And the reason is not because the agreement is bad or the agreement is not implementable, as our president continued to say, or that the agreement is difficult to be implemented. The answer is simple. There is no political will in South Sudan. There's no political will, especially among in the heart of our president Salva Kiir, to implement the agreement. So I'm not shocked, but I am extremely disappointed. So let me state the following. I personally reject any kind of extension whatsoever of the implementation period. Let's not forget that this agreement was signed in September 2018. And if you calculate the month since then, this agreement has already been implemented by more than 46 months. More than 46 months. It has been extended twice already, and still we have not been able to implement anything. Even what they claim to be 27%. What is 27%? Just simply because you have appointed people into positions? That doesn't count for anything. Having people in position of power has never been the problem in South Sudan. The problem has been doing the heavy things that are needed, building the institutions that are required to allow the South Sudanese to be able to elect their own leaders, to allow the country to move forward instead of having warlords impose themselves on the people of South Sudan. Things like the security arrangement, things like the reformation of the electoral law, the things like the constitution, things like the conduct of the census. These are the heart of the agreement. And none of those things has been implemented. So if those things could not be implemented for the 46 months in which the agreement was quote unquote implemented, how sure we are that these difficult things will be implemented in the next 24 months? There is no logical explanation whatsoever. And when this announcement was made, the parties have not really told us in a great detail what was it that prevented them from implementing the agreement, and what is it that they are going to do this time differently. We don't know. And as a result, I don't believe whatsoever that the president is genuine about the extension and about his intention to implement the agreement. He has said over and over again that this agreement is so difficult to implement and that whoever that wrote this agreement could not even implement it. So if someone believes that something is not doable, how sure we are that this is the person that can actually get it done? As a result, I don't believe the president has any intention whatsoever, and I've argued for years that our president simply wants to hang on to power undemocratically. And he has built tools of intimidation through the National Security Service, through the Presidential Guard, and now through the South Sudan Police Service. These are tools, instruments of power that he used personally to protect himself and to basically enslave the people of South Sudan. Let also not forget, Brother Edward, that the president we have in South Sudan is very unique among all the presidents of the world. He is the only one among all the peers, all the other presidents in the world, who could not say, I was elected by my people. because he was never elected by the people of independent South Sudan. We all remember the Independence Day, January 9, 2011. Salva Kiir had to be sworn in. Were there any elections that were done so that he could be sworn in and that he was elected by the people of South Sudan? No. He was sworn in on the basis of the transitional constitution of South Sudan. And what that constitution did was basically to extend his mandate, because his mandate as president of GOS, the government of Southern Sudan, and then basically appointed him as the president of the independent South Sudan with a very simple mandate. That mandate was that he will organize elections by 2015. He was supposed to build the democratic institution, to build the economy, unify the people, conduct truth and reconciliation so that we overcome all the challenges that we experienced during the independence struggle, so that we are able to hold a democratic election and choose our own leaders, because Salva Kiir was never chosen by the people of South Sudan. The person who chose him was SPLM. SPLM is not the people of South Sudan. So 10 years later on, actually it's now 11 years. 11 years since that time, Salva Kiir has not been able to organize elections. You all remember the 2015 elections were delayed to 2018 by the parliament on the ground of the war that he facilitated. He created intentionally so that those elections would not happen, and then use it as an excuse to delay the election to 2018. And when 2018 came, what did he do? He did not conduct the election. The election were extended again to 2021. And by the virtue of the peace agreement, the election were extended again. And they were extended again, final extension being December 2022. And now he's telling us that he's going to extend them again for another 2 years to 2025. It's the same story. If he could not build the institution required to conduct election for 10 years, 11 years, then what makes us believe that he can do the job that he could not do in 2 years? It's not possible. So I add my voice to all the other South Sudanese that have already spoken, to organizations, political parties, the movements that have spoken, that we are calling on the people of South Sudan. And it's very important that our people understand this. We are not calling on African Union, on IGAD, on Troika, or any of our neighbors. We are calling on our own people, because at some point, there come a time when the problems reach to a level where you cannot wait for anyone else to come and solve those problems that you know that they will require no one but yourself. And the people of South Sudan find themselves in that moment as we speak. We can no longer call on Troika or on UNMISS or on African Union or on anyone. We only call ourselves to cement the bonds of brotherhood that we have. And we embark on a process, an inclusive process. We dialogue among ourselves, and we come up with a credible and a viable transitional arrangement before the term of the President Kiir expire in February 2023, so that we avert a constitutional crisis that is already brewing, because Kiir was never elected, Machar was never elected, the parliament we have in Juba was never elected, the state's government we have were never elected. So we need a credible process where people's voices can be heard, and so that we can have a transitional arrangement that can actually move the country forward. So I reject this agreement, I reject this extension, and I invite Troika, I invite the African Union, I invite the rest of the people, the UNMISS, to join the people of South Sudan on their search for a genuine arrangement that can allow them to focus on issues that they should be focusing. Every time when I'm traveling, I come here, I go and meet with the congressman. Why should I be talking about the problem we have in South Sudan and needing their help to solve them, when I can talk with them about making investment in South Sudan, making investment in roads, in helping us to manage flood, in helping us to manufacture our economy and transform it, instead of talking about problem of Salva Kiir and Riek Machar all the time. We can be talking about moving this country forward, using our external relationship to bring resources into our country so that our economy actually get to grow. So this is the time to solve this problem once and for all. And I invite the people of South Sudan to take this process genuinely and begin the consultation in their bombers, at the community level, within their clans, within their tribes, within their communal association. This is no longer an issue that should be left to political parties or to so quote unquote politicians. This is now the issue, the time we as people of South Sudan seize this issue and we handle it the way we see fit because our lives depend on it.
Thank you, Dr. Biar. Follow-up question. Just I want you to connect between the extension and the recent event in the United States of America, and actually the move of non-signatories to the RCs, and also the move of the Red Army. So just can you tell South Sudan exactly what is the exit here?
Well, there's a lot that is going on because the people of South Sudan, we have been looking and believing that the so-called leaders of South Sudan will solve the problem. But we have realized these people are never going to solve the problem because they are themselves the problem. So it now requires us as young people, as people of South Sudan, wherever we are in the world, to really grow up and come to a realization that the adults that we have in the room, they are incapable of bringing our country out of the mess. And many of us in the Red Army, we experienced this when we were children, through the struggle we went through, that at some point you realize that you have no one else but yourself. We have one of our songs that say, Arfa Klan Shikob. It is your father and is your mother because there is no one at home. This gun is your father. We used to sing those kind of songs. And this is the situation we find ourselves in today. We used to believe that Salva Kiir, Riek Machar, these people actually care about our people. But we have come to a painful realization that they never have cared about South Sudanese. Even when they joined the armed struggle, they were not motivated by the liberation agenda. There is a gentleman called Jeffrey Weinstein. He wrote a very nice book. It's called Inside Rebellion. And he talks about the motives of those who join armed struggle. And there are two kinds of recruits that join armed struggle. There are those who join for opportunistic reasons, because armed struggle provide opportunity to make money, to loot, to take things that don't belong to you, to use power. And there are people that join for those kinds of reasons. But then there are others who really join for the genuineness of the cause that they are trying to bring through. We had both of these people in the SPLM. We had people who joined for realizing the ideals of the liberation. But we had people that joined simply because they wanted a different thing to do. So they never really understood the sacrifice that we paid as a people of South Sudan, because they were never motivated by that. This is the situation we find ourselves through. So what happened is there has been a lot of talk among the people of the diaspora, and they're sending money home all the time. Since the crisis happened, people have been calling them. The economy completely collapsed. As you know very well, the prices are going up and changing every day. The government is literally printing money and adding this money into the money supply. So then the inflation is going up. People cannot afford prices. The oil is sold in advance. The beds are sold, the land is sold, and those resources are squandered by President Kiir and some of his individuals. Even gold has gone to the extent that even the president himself now is actually involved in the smuggling of gold. President himself smuggling the gold out of his own country. So so the people of South Sudan are dying. And the only people that is rescuing them is the international organization on the ground and the people in the diaspora. When there were floods in Upper Nile for the last 2 years, the people in the diaspora here, I know very well, like the Nuer community here in the United States, they had to contribute money, send to their relatives on the ground so that they rescue the people. The same thing with the Sholo community. The same thing with the Dinka Boer community. Even the Awil community. Right now, there is a serious fight going on between Abiy and Twij Mayadit. And people of Abiy are abandoned on their own. They have to contribute money on their own. They are fighting Misriya. And then there are individuals within Salva Kiir government that are creating crisis here and turning brothers against each other. And they are left on their own. The same thing with people of a will. They're left on their own. So all the people of South Sudan, I know in Equatoria, for example, the Bahari people, they've been talking among themselves. The same thing with the Zande, the Bongo community. It's as if we never have a government. People in the diaspora are the one sustaining livelihoods, sending kids to school, vaccinating the children. This is what they are doing. In my own community, in Twitch East, in Awulian community, the Awulian Association in America, they send a mobile clinic to South Sudan so that they can go and take care of people. These are services. Why you form a government so that the government can deliver for them for you. But they are unable. So the people of diaspora are shouldering this, and they are tired. And they're saying, how long can we do this for? When our leaders on the ground continue to mismanage the country. So now they are finally coming together. So over the last several weeks, there have been a lot of activities that culminated in the meeting that we recently did in Iowa. And that meeting, it was decided that we are going to form a united diaspora forum. This forum, and you were there, Brother Achek, you remember very well, this forum is going to bring us together in the diaspora. And we will use this forum to talk. And if there are things that we have done wrong to each other, we will solve them. But we'll come out with a genuine focus that we must change the situation in the country. So that is what has happened. This is an effort not just only by the members of the Red Army and the Lost Boys, but by everyone. All the South Sudanese, they're fed up because they in America here, they are sacrificing. People are living in 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom house with families so that they can save money to be able to take care of the people. But we have there in Juba now hundreds of millions of dollars being wasted and oil being sold and this money being put in the pockets of individuals and basically being siphoned off the country. So the diaspora people are saying we can no longer accept this. And we want to work with our people on the ground to make sure that we go back to that kind of a spirit. We rekindle that spirit of national consciousness and come to a realization that we need to solve our problem. So this is the effort that is happening in America. Is a great effort. And part of the intention is to reach out to the head of the political movements who are opposing the government in South Sudan and find a way to work with them. And Brother Achek, I have to say this point because it's very important. Not everyone is going to put aside their egos and work in the spirit of brotherhood. But it does not mean that if there are individuals here and 1 or 2 here or there, we cannot move forward. We have to move forward regardless of whoever wants to hold us back, because we can no longer really endure. We can no longer endure Kiir's administration, Kiir's mismanagement of our country, Kiir's turning the communities of South Sudan against each other, using the Dinka community as a tool for keeping power, turning the Dinka people against their own brothers. If you see now what is happening in Malakal and Upper Nile, a situation that I never imagined would ever happen, because the first time I visit Malakal, everyone that I met there, they speak Shuluk, they speak Nuer, they speak Dinka. They were brothers living side by side. Now they've been turned to bitter enemies. And it's because of the divide and rule strategies of President Kiir. He's basically borrowing them from National Congress Party and the National Islamic Front, and is applying them to the people of South Sudan. So the diaspora is coming together, and they are saying we must work together. Those of us in America, those of us in Australia, those of us in Canada, those of us in Egypt, those of us in East Africa, let us come together and organize so that we bring about the change that we need, because Salva Kiir and Riek Machar can never deliver anything for the people of South Sudan. And time has come to retire them, whether they like it or not.
Thank you, Doctor. الناس المشاهدين, please I'm going to share the video. Please share the video on Facebook, actually, to avoid the attack. Before I go to the next question, Dr. Peter Biar, actually, I want you to make comment on what happened in Mayom County extrajudiciary. And the main question to you, will the killers face justice? But actually, being a Red Army, you was a Red Army, and you grew up in that institution, SPLA, and today it transformed itself to the SSPDF, the National Army to the Republic of South Sudan. Honestly, before you make your comment, I want to show video, and from that video, I want you to make your comment because you was part of that institution, and now today you are a PhD holder. What are you saying about what's going on in the country in regard to what happened in Mayom? And it's not only Mayom. Last year it's happened in Rumbek, I think so. So this is, before I show the video, let me request from the viewers. Actually, I'm going to show an horrific graphic. And please, if you need any attention or any help, ask for it. Otherwise, you can just ignore the video. There is two video. I want the three officers of the SPM were executed live. I'm going to show that. The other one, it was burned alive. Comrade or General Gatluk Mayok. Those video, I'm going to show them. Also, I'm going to show you the statement, the reaction of the SSPDF, and also the reaction of the Minister of the Information, Michael McQuay. And from there, you will make your comment, Dr. Ajak, before we move forward. Just be with me for 1 second. Let me show the video here.
Gor ka tong mi ko.
That the video, Dr. Biar Ajak, and also I want you to connect that what happened, this event, to the Geneva Convention, 1949, and the right of the prisoners. The second video is the reaction of the spokesperson of the government, Michael McQuay. Listen to it.
Your government has been following all the events that had been taking place in Unity State since the day for yesterday and yesterday, and it was unfortunate that such things happened, and the government condemns that action in its strongest terms. It is unfortunate that a responsible government, a state government, decided to act against all the norms, the rules and regulations. The accused persons who did the first act, those who committed the offense by killing the commissioner and burning him, if they are arrested, then they should have been brought to books and the law would have taken its course. But to take such an action as extrajudicial execution is unbecoming. It is strongly condemned by the government of South Sudan, and the government will not tolerate that. However, action will be taken against any party who has a hand in this, because this is not the policy of the government, and this is against the international norms, rules, and regulations. So we pass our condolences to the families of both the community.
Statement on extrajudicial killings in Mayom County of Unity State. Over the weekend, SSPDF General Headquarters learned with dismay graphic photos and videos of 3 men being executed by firing squad and a fourth man was tied up and allegedly burned alive in grass-thatched hut. The men were allegedly killed by elements from SSPDF. In compliance with our own rules of engagement and supreme law of the land, the Defense Forces, General Sandewal, had ordered for immediate formation of investigation committee to ascertain the circumstances under which such heinous crimes were committed. The leadership of SSPDF would like to assure the people of South Sudan that the perpetrators would be brought to book without fear and favor.
Kalbai ba nyo yen chou de mu.
You warm. Don't warm. Chou da đâu yen à? Ka luôn.
Mà nó gầy 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 nó chịu. Có đấy đi mà đi ra đây. Nên là lo.
Cái rồi rồi.
Có khi đồng này là cũng phải lên rồi. Cái đấy thì đúng
không? Cái chân nhỏ là nó gầy.
Cái rồi nhỏ nó.
Cái nó đang đà rồi. Rồi.
Mà cái uống này nó còn nó kia này.
Dr. Peter Biar, the last video is the look when they were tidying him before he burned alive. Can you go ahead, Doctor?
First of all, brother, I'm extremely saddened by the events that we saw in Mayom. And I think this country of us, this country of ours, what we witnessed and what we saw, especially that video of burning and that conversation that that young man is having with his killers, is going to shock the psyche of our nation for years. And I say this as someone who have seen a lot of bad things in my life, because I honestly never seen anything like that. Because even when we were in the bush, there was a legal process. There was SPLM revolutionary laws. There was military laws. The country was governed by military laws. Whenever there was an issue, a GCM was formed, the General Court Martial, and people were tried, and a decision that was reached was sent through the chain of command all the way to the commander-in-chief. And when the commander-in-chief receive it, he would react, and he would then either go ahead or not. So what we have seen in Mayom, even the SPLA back then, under the leadership of John Grant, no commander would ever dare to do something like that. There are commanders. Let me give you one example. There was a commander, one of commanders that had people shot because they took cattle from Mundari. Later on, this same commander had also took cattle of Mundari civilians. What happened later on, John Garang made sure that he was investigated, and the same commander was executed, just like the soldiers that he executed. Garang understood that people need to be treated equal, that the notion of power with a privileged groups that were above the law and those to whom the law was imposed on was contradictory, and it's something that could not justify any kind of struggle that the SPLM was on. So Garang was always very careful. Yes, there were shooting in the SPLM areas, and people were asked to come out and watch it, which was bizarre. But when those people were shot, in fact, the first execution that I witnessed myself was in Ethiopia, in Panyudu. I think it must have been 1989 or 1990. And it was Gary Chwanga Luong, who was the commander at the time. But he did not kill these people just by himself. There was a judicial process, and it went all the way through the chain of command, and then the orders came, and then the executions happened. What has happened now has shown completely for the first time the true nature of our regime in Juba. The true nature of our regime in Juba. I've been telling people for 2 years now some of the bizarre things that happen in Blue House. And people have been saying, no, they could not do this. They could not do this. Now, this is Blue House, you must understand, is a secret place that many South Sudanese have never been to. They only see the building when they are passing by or when they are going to Jebel Market. But they don't really understand what goes in there. And this is in the shadows. There are no video cameras. And things that happen there are very bad. They're terrible. But now imagine what they do in the broad daylight in Mayom, with the government officials being present. We know who gave the order. It was Nguyen Mointwil. It was Nguyen Mointwil with Tutkeo. Tutkeo used his connection with the Sudan intelligence to have these people arrested. We have the pictures when these people were arrested by the Rapid Support Forces. And then they were handed over to them. And these people were killed. And believe me, Tutkeo would never do something like this without talking with Salva Kiir. So people are pretending now, and they're trying to act surprised. They're surprised because they have been caught red-handed. They are trying to deny because there is evidence. They cannot deny that this did not happen. When I came out and I came to America and I revealed for the first time that inside the Blue House, they were sodomizing men. That was happening, right? People were being burned. You are killed, and they burn you so that your body is never found. Atenuwek, they came out and they deny and they say Peter is lying. Why? Because I did not have a video. There was no video to show. But now they see the video finally and they cannot deny. And everything that I said has been confirmed by the UN panel of experts, by Amnesty International, by Human Rights Watch. And by the way, we have the names of these people. The names of these people are mentioned. Who is in charge? The activities inside Blue House are handled by what is called the Protection Division. Protection Division, for the time I was in prison, the guy who was heading it was a major general from a will called Denga Kol. His own people from a will were being massacred, yet he was the commander. And then he was removed after the incident that happened in Blue House with the riots. And a guy called Gabriel Gore, his major general, he was brought to the Protection Division. And the same things continued. And everyone knows that you have what is called the Special Forces in the Office of the Director General, Office of a Kolkur, Kwod Garang. He has even been sanctioned by the United States. And he has a team, those of Malwal Army, and the rest of them who were executing people. Their names are known. Have they been held accountable? These are people that have been burning children of South Sudan. These are South Sudanese, their own brothers, burning them alive, hacking them to pieces. You know what they did to Dong Samuel and Agri Idris? They slaughtered them. And there are videos, by the way. It's a matter of time before those videos are leaked. They slaughtered them with knives. That's what they did. And then they burned their bodies. That's what happened to Dong Samuel. That's what happened to Agri Idris. And General Stephen Boy, when these people were arrested, he immediately alerted us that the same thing that happened with these people is about to happen. And then it happened. It happened before our own eyes. We just saw the videos. That is what happened. And that is what has been happening. That is the logic of our government. Salva Kiir's government has nothing to offer to the people of South Sudan. Completely nothing. He knows, even last time he was telling us, what can I do about the economy? He cannot fix the economy. He cannot unite people. You cannot unite the people of South Sudan. What can he tell to the Nuers that he massacred in Juba, where he sent his soldiers door to door slaughtering? What can he tell to the Equatorians that were massacred in Yei simply because you happen to be from Equatoria? That's it. There's no crime you committed. You don't even know any rebel. You are just busy doing your farm. You are killed because you are Equatorian. What can he say to the people that he killed, even within Dinka, because he believed they are not loyal to him? People like Isaiah Abraham, he killed them. This is what has been happening. So he's not even saying, here is my vision of the country, or here is what I want to do. He has reached a point where he says, even if I am bad, I am going to remain, because if you don't want me, I will kill you. This is the point that it has reached. This is the point that it has reached. So I think now time has come for us to truly make South Sudanese understand that this is the reality that has been happening in the shadows for the last 11 years without them being aware that this was the reality. But this is the reality that many of us live in Blue House. The torturing that happened for hours, until people completely pass out. Many died during the torture. And then they take the body. We saw that what happened with Lasu when his dad was going to ask, and they say, we don't have him. Only later on, after he died, they buried the body. Then they finally told him, oh, by the way, he died and we buried him. Now, can we really tell how this young man died? It's possible that he died during investigation, that he was tortured. You know, he was tortured and he died. That's what happened. That is the reality that has been happening. So you have a regime whose entire logic is looting of the resources, looting, being done by everybody. And now you have a member of Salva Kiir family, he's a member of his own family, coming out to say that should anyone protest, they will be shot. You know, by the way, brother, I checked. President himself, he told my father one time when I was in prison, he told my father, this son of yours, I should have had his head cut off and thrown the body behind Jebel Kujur. And then he said in the military headquarters, in the front of generals, while I was in prison, that this boy, he should have been put in the sack and thrown in the Nile. That's what he said. Now, what I don't know is why my father was not outraged, and why some of my relatives that were there were not outraged. I never actually asked him why, because he told me and he was very bitter. But I did not ask him, what did you then say to him? Because you then wonder, will the outrage only come when I'm dead? Is that when my relative will be outraged that after they have to wait first until now I have been killed, and then now after I'm dead, then now they can be outraged and they can take action. When the president was threatening to kill me, just a few months ago in May, after I made my remarks, after he attended the funeral of Mwai Kibaki, emergency meeting of the Council of Ministers was called. And the president said in the Council of Ministers, he said it in front of everybody. He said that I will take my revenge against Peter Biar. I will do something so painful that he will feel it in the United States. This is the president of South Sudan just a few months ago. And what did I do? Did I kill anybody? No, I simply point out, I criticize how he was not representing our country well. They were accusing me that I was destroying the image of the country. But what is destroying the image of the country now when a presidential advisor and a governor order civilians who are accused to be killed in the most barbaric ways, and then they tape them because they want to show the people of South Sudan that they are so brutal that if you do anything, this is the fate you are going to have. You are either going to be burned alive or you'll be shot. Now, what is embarrassing the country? What is destroying the image of South Sudan? What is destroying our prestige as a people? That is what is destroying it. So I think now we have reached a point, really, where our people need to truly understand. And in fact, right now, I'm going to reveal a lot of information about what happened behind the scene, because the people need to know that this is not a new thing. This is the logic that has been happening. And they say it to you point blank. What are you going to do? Because they believe they have enough force, they are able to buy guns, and they are able to kill whoever they kill. It's as if the guns that they have are manufactured in a one chan, that they are manufactured in their community, in his village, and he's the only one that have access to gun. As if those guns cannot be found somewhere else. And as if we are pacifists. Somehow we don't care about our own lives, forgetting the laws of evolution, that every single living being, living thing that is alive has to struggle for survival. The first thing is survival. And if we are going to survive, it's going to require all of us to come to the reality that this is the regime that we face. The instruments that Akolakur has built, the instrument of terror, even what is happening in Mayom, is all national security. How were those people caught? They were not handed over by SSPF. They were handed to the agent of the national security. And because of Tutkeo and Win Muntil, you see now what has happened. So I think now is really a time where everyone has to wonder, is this what they want to be associated with? Michael McQuay is my uncle. We come from the same area. And my mother is a relative with him. We share blood. And he has always come to justify everything that Salva Kiir does. This is the legacy that he has embraced. Has he forgotten? Even during the war, Michael McQuay was under investigation. He was arrested with Agatha. He could have been easily executed if this was the way things were done in the SPLA. But what happened? He was arrested and there was investigation. And the investigation in the end cleared him. Agatha, who was his colleague that was arrested with him, was fire squatted. Michael McQuay was spared. Why? Because of the due process of law. Due process that he has now forgotten, that he does not believe other South Sudanese are due. And he comes up every time to enabling the crimes of Salva Kiir and his regime. That's what he's doing every single day. And when we don't call him out, who is it that we expect will call him out? That McQuay, if you have nothing to say, then just don't say anything. Instead of coming every time to lie to the people of South Sudan. At the end of the day, you have your soul. You have your children. They will have their children. Maybe if God is favorable to you, your generation will continue for years to come. How do you put all of that in line simply because Salva Kiir has made you a minister and you have a house, maybe you get your few dollars here and there? Is that really worth your soul? What is life to a man even if he gains the world and he loses his soul? Our own Lord Jesus Christ put that question to us. And that is the same question that I put to my own relatives who are in the government of Salva Kiir. I have relatives in the government of Salva Kiir. I cannot ask them to resign. They make their own choice. But this is the future that they are associating themselves with. Whenever they enable this regime, whenever they stand up for this guy, these are the crimes that they are enabling. And these crimes, not only will they haunt their conscience, but they will also shame. They will also shame them and their children.
Thank you, Dr. Peter Biar. Really very sad. I have to, before we remain with two questions, but I have to follow up two questions. One question, the follow-up question. Do you think, according to the interview of a statement of Michael McQuay and a statement of Lurwai, do you think Nguyen Mentuil and Tutkeo, they will be accountable because of what they did, in your opinion, Dr. Biar?
No. They will never be held accountable at all. At all, they will never be held accountable. And here is why they will never be held accountable. Salva Kiir is very weak. It's the people of South Sudan that make it seem as if he's that strong. He's very weak. I have gone to his own village in a Wanchan. People have no water to drink. Women, they walk for hours to go and get water. The same division that is applying at the national level, he's dividing his own community at the local level. The regime is so weak that it has to rely on brute violence to pretend that it is strong. A regime that goes for months without paying its army, without paying its civil servants, without paying its diplomats. A regime that has been sanctioned internationally has become a pariah. A pariah is a pariah, isolated. Even his own friend Museveni no longer want to be associated with him. The only people now that have no problem being associated with them are the criminals in Khartoum. Criminals in Khartoum, Islamists, terrorists. If you see the logic in Kiir's government is terrorism. These are people not with power. Because what is power? Power is political. It comes from the collective will of the people to act in concert. They don't have any power. They only have violence. Terrorism. That is what they have. And because Kiir is so weak, he's relying on warlords like Tutkau and Win Mointwil to protect his regime. He feels that without the protection of these warlords, then he will not be in power. That is one. Second is, Kiir is being managed by Tutkau, right? Many of us have had these feelings, even during the process of doing my own dissertation. I came up with very clear understanding of what really happened. Remember 2004 crisis, when Salva Kiir wanted to defect from John Garang. He was put in contact by the Sudan military intelligence, with the militiat, with Polino Matip, and with Wani Konga. They were going to coordinate so that if Salva Kiir defect, then these people will join him, and then they will work to push Garang out. He sent some of his associates to Khartoum. They were given money. So I had a feeling that from that time on, Salva Kiir has not been the same man. He was compromised. And why is Tutkau and the NCP people the one that formed the inner core of the SPLA? Why does Kwalmanyang has to go and ask Tutkau for permission to set up an appointment with Salva Kiir? Kwalmanyang is a member of High Command. Tutkau was a Sudan intelligence person that was bribing South Sudanese general to deviate from the course. Right? He's the one that is now in charge. What do you think? To me, Tutkau has information that can compromise Salva Kiir. And because of that, Salva Kiir is afraid. He's afraid because he's dealing with Khartoum deeper than we think. I now know, just by looking at the records, because I have access to the archives of President Thabo Mbeki, because Mbeki was the head of the high-level panel. And I found through Mbeki archives, the dismissal of Pagan from the SPLM was a recommendation from Bashir. The dismissal of Riak was a recommendation from Bashir. The appointment of Akolkur was a recommendation from Salagosh. The dismissal of James Huth from the Chief of Defense was a recommendation from Bashir. Why is Salva Kiir listening to Bashir and Salagosh? Because Salva Kiir is the agent, is the spy. They handle him. And this is every time he does exactly what Khartoum does. You saw that they have a very close relationship with Khartoum. Khartoum captured the people, handed them over to them, they killed them. If that relationship was so close and is a great working relationship, why can it be used to solve the problem of Biar? If Salva Kiir was truly a nationalist. 10 years and Biar has not truly become part of South Sudan? What is Salva Kiir waiting for? People of Biar even conducted their own referendum. But what did he do? He rejected it before even Khartoum rejected it. He was the first to reject it. Why? Because he was told by his managers in Khartoum that he has to do that. We are not free. And because Museveni knows these things, this is the same thing he used to manage Salva Kiir. So you have a leader that is being managed by foreigners and is a puppet. That's what he is. So there is no way he's going to fire Tutkel because his enablers in Khartoum will have a problem with that. And there is no way he will fire Nguyen Mointwil because the Mointwil brothers, they are warlords in Mayom. But what he doesn't understand is the overreach that he allowed Tutkel to do. Because even now, people of South Sudan are no longer afraid of dying. Because the word that Galwak Majuk said, when he's facing certain death, is going to be burned alive, the most horrific way of dying, instead of being coward, he said, time is coming for you all. Time is coming for you all. And you young people, you need to rescue your country. That is the mission that Galwak Majuk has given us as people of South Sudan. Anyone that claims to have any iota of nationalism must be outraged. Must be outraged. We can no longer endure this. And it has reached a point where we have to use any means necessary to get rid of this regime. Any means necessary. So there is no way those people will ever be held accountable because Salva has never held anyone accountable. Even during the war, remember the slave saga, where he, Bona Malwal, and Paul Malong, and some of these guys, they were pretending to bring slave redeemers from the West. They come and round up the village, they pretend these are slaves, they take the money. When it was exposed later on, who was held accountable? The same thing with all the crimes. He claimed last time that Mayi Gaye was the one that misled him and brought the Chinese companies and they built the Shady Bargazar road. When there was only one rain, the road was washed away. He fired Mayik, and then what happened? He promoted him to the Minister of Foreign Affairs. His own office manager, Yel, and Ustaz, what is his name? Molana Mayen Wall. They stole money from his office. Stole cash. What did he do? He reappointed them. And even appointed the guy as Undersecretary for Ministry of Petroleum twice. Is he a person that can hold anyone accountable? When people were killed, when the war started in 2013 and people went house to house, within his own circle, there were Nuer officers that were protecting him. They were doing their duty as citizens of South Sudan, protecting their citizen. They were not with Riek Machar, they were with him. But because they happened to be Nuer, they were rounded up and they were all executed. Did he hold accountable the people who executed his own bodyguards? No. This is a man that is incapable of dispensing justice. He's a man that has no understanding of justice. He only has understanding of loyalty. And he thinks that Tutkel is now loyal to him, and he thinks that when Mointwil is loyal to him, he will never hold them accountable. The only people that will hold Tutkel accountable and will hold Nguyen Mointwil accountable are the people of South Sudan. And I believe that they have the capacity, they have the ability to be able to hold those people accountable. And in fact, for us to remain as a country and to have the integrity of being called a country, Tutkel and Nguyen Mointwil must be held accountable.
Thank you, Dr. Biar. My second follow-up question, really, I don't want to remind you with what happened in the detention, but the question you have actually, both of you, you and Comrade Garbino, let his soul rest in peace, released together. Garbino decided actually because he was so bitter, even you too, but you control your emotion. Garbino, he rebelled, went to the bush, they captured him alive and killed him. But you decide actually to actually come to United States of America. Is that because You believe in non-violence, or what was the reason, Dr. Biar? You have to make it clear to people of South Sudan. Because with that concept you were actually advocating for, you are shaping the future of the Republic of South Sudan. Can you go ahead, sir?
When I came to the US, I was not coming under a personal decision that I made. I was forced by circumstances. Because after they killed Carbino, they manufactured lies that somehow I was involved and that I was actually the one that was running things behind and instigating Carbino to rebel. And what they decided was to send, they made a decision and they sent a team of assassins, a hit squad, to Nairobi for the purpose of either abducting me and returning me to South Sudan or killing me. This was during the pandemic, so the Jomo Kenyatta airport was closed. What they did is they came to the Wilson airport, which is operated by some of the elements within the intelligence. You know, because they have so much money, they bribe people here in the middle. Sometimes it appears as if it is Kenyan government that is cooperating with them, but it's just they bribe some individual in the middle. And what they did is they chartered a plane for 5 days, Edward. 5 days, the plane was waiting there at the airport. Whenever they grab me, they can bring me in the plane and they take me to Juba. That was what was happening. They wanted to kill me. And what they were afraid was that I would share information that I know of how they deal and how they have been doing things. How President Salva Kiir, from the day one that he signed the agreement, he formed a committee of 4 people. This committee was headed by a Kolkur. It has 3 other people in it. I will reveal their names soon because I'm organizing all of this into a report for the people of South Sudan. And it's going to come out within the next 1 month. This report is about 100 pages long. It will give you everything that you need to know about national security, about a Kolkur, who is who, how the national security is organized, who are the people making decisions on who should be killed, who should be arrested, who should be disappeared, and who are the actual people doing the killing. I have all of this information. So I'm organizing it, who is engaged in the human rights violation, in the abuse against the people of South Sudan, those who are engaged in the grand corruption and looting resources, because what people don't understand is that national security is also a master when it comes to grand corruption in South Sudan. They enable all the crimes that happen in South Sudan. Right? So they're afraid of this information. So it was decided that they're going to kill me. But thank God, my colleagues inside who were still part of the system, and many of them are there, they told me what was going on. And sources within the presidency that did not agree also contacted me. And of course, it was confirmed also by the US government. They reached out. And the only way for me, the only place where I could be secure was no longer in the region. It was to come further afield. And I was glad that the United States worked around the clock to issue me and my family emergency visa. My lawyers here in the US, my colleagues, they worked day and night to bring me to the United States. That's how I came here. I was running for my life. In fact, I did not even know, even when we were going to the airport, because they were putting vehicles here, following us, sending weird phone calls, intimidating my friends. This is what was happening. So I'm very glad and I'm very lucky that God helped me to be here. Now, when it comes to the issue of nonviolence, I want to make it very clear that I'm not a pacifist. I'm not a pacifist. I do not believe that violence cannot be used, because I believe one of the reasons why God created me and one of the wisdom that God gave me is to protect my own life first. And sometimes to do that, I may need to use violence. To protect my own life and to ensure that I'm alive requires me sometimes to use violence. But the reason why I've been choosing not to use violence is based on the experiences of other countries. If we look at the current nation state that we have, parliaments, freedom of speech, constitution, separation of power, judicial process, the notion of innocence until proven guilty. All of these, they did not come from philosophers. They did not come from ideas. They came because people fought for these things. They shed blood. If you look in Europe, for a period of 1,000 years, one of the best books that you can read is by a guy called Charles Tilly. Charles Tilly wrote a book called Capital, Coercion, and the European States. And he talks about how Europe fought wars for 1,000 years to create the modern institution. So those of us who have gone to school, we know this is the best practice, because if we don't do that, then we will be subjected to the same fate, because human being is human being regardless of where they come from. We all share the same thinking, the same DNA, the same kind of feeling. No one can accept the kind of behavior that we are seeing in South Sudan. So blood was shed. So knowing that experience, and given our history of violence and our history of war, I came to a conclusion that the best way we can struggle was to be peaceful, to be nonviolent, so that we appeal to the conscience of our people and we use the nonviolent approaches to unify and heal the wounds that we have all endured through our struggle. That was my belief. I believe that violence could unite us, and that we can appeal to our president, we can appeal to people around him to understand that when we say that there must be elections, or when we condemn corruption, it's not because we are against him, it's because we want a better future and we want a better society. But they have shown time and again that the only thing that they will listen to is violence, that the only thing that they respect is violence. We must understand this. When you allow terrorism to dictate based on violence, you can never have real politics. Politics is the public realm. When you and I and the other person will come together and form a society and discuss ideas, we form a public realm. That is politics. Politics is the unique creation when people come together to work. When you introduce violence into it and use it as instrument to achieve the political objectives, you make politics subservient to violence. And that is what we have reached in South Sudan. In my opinion, I still believe that nonviolent struggle has merit. But at the end of the day, we also need to be realistic. We need to be able to protect ourselves. And we need to be able to use violence in a strategic way. Part of the problem in South Sudan, that we look at Riek Machar, NAS, any of these groups, when they rebel, what do? They go and attack Bentiu. They attack Malakal. They attack Bor. They attack Ye. They attack Nimali. Now, who is dying there? Is Salva Kiir dying there? Is Riek Machar dying there? Any of their sons or relatives? No, because they are hanging out in Juba. And Salva Kiir has said he's not going to protect vulnerable people of South Sudan. He will use the military to protect himself and whoever that flee to Juba. So he protects himself and he protects his family. Someone like Riek, who is the deputy mayor of Juba, doesn't really understand what is happening in the country. He doesn't understand the reality that South Sudanese live in day in and day out. Why? Because he has so much money, he has no idea what to do with it. Because they loot. His family, they loot. They believe that whatever is in South Sudan belongs to them. This is the mindset he has. It's the same mindset that Adut has. It's the same mindset all of them has. Riek Machar, and this is the important connection that I need to make. Riek Machar, the last time, he was a lieutenant colonel in the National Security Service. In fact, if you look at the last promotion, his name is there, Riek Mayadit, lieutenant colonel. I think now he's a full colonel in the national security. Kir's son, his own son, Riek, the one that he brought to board last time for the people of board to see,
Yes.
Last time I remember, he was a major in the National Security Service. President Kiir's son-in-law. Huh? He has a son-in-law. He's not a dude, but the other daughter, Anok. Anok has the same mother with Thik. These are the children of Achol Philip, the lady from Bor. Okay, Thik is a major, right? Thik is a major in the national security base. The husband of Anok is called Deng Chagai. He's from Yerul. He's from Chech Yerul. He's a colonel in the national security. In fact, he's now, from what I have heard, working in the office of Akolakur, overseeing the so-called special forces. These are the people that have unknown gunmen. These are the people that control Luri. When you are abducted, you can be taken to Luri and killed there. They have president has a farm there, and national security and Tiger, they have presence there in Luri. That is his family. So now if you see the statement that Thig was saying, this is the logic they have as a family, and they have taken up arms using the instruments that Kiir has built through Akolokur to be able to intimidate the people of South Sudan. So in their mind, they don't know violence. They only give orders. They never actually fire any bullet. They give orders and people jump to the orders and they use the resources. They have the money. They live in a bubble where they are all psychopaths. People come to beg money from them because Junubi now they have been reduced. They have been reduced to beggars. If you go on the street, people are begging, especially our community of Dinka. People are begging on the street. So people are reduced to beggars. And people who go to their houses, they go to their houses to basically beg them. And to beg them, you have to flatter their ego. You tell them nonsense. So they think that they are doing wonderful. They are great, that they are loved by the people of South Sudan. So he doesn't understand the reality that people live in. He's so disconnected from it. And it's because when these so-called rebel leaders, when they take up arms, instead of actually going after the people that are destroying the country, like the way, now if you look at Stephen Boy, the way Stephen Boy did, he went directly at the person who is destroying Mayom, who is the commissioner. He targeted the commissioner. He eliminated the threat that was facing the people of Mayom. But if you look here, Riek Machar or Thomas Shirilo, they go and ambush innocent civilians who are trying to live. They're trying to get by. They don't even know what is being done in Juba. They don't know what is being done in Juba is being done in their name. They have nothing to do with it. But instead of going after people that actually are creating problems, people like Thik now, in Dinka, someone would talk like that back when we were in the cattle camp. That person, we use a stick. A person like that is hit in the head. But instead of doing that, they will go and attack innocent civilians that are just trying to, go about their normal lives. That kind of violence is the violence we reject because it has no strategic logic to it. It cannot be justified. How can you justify killing women and children because you want to liberate? But it can be justified if the violence is used appropriately to go after the people that are actually doing all these things. Because if those people don't understand that their own lives are also in danger like our own lives, the same way the president is telling me that he's going to do something terrible to me that I will feel in Washington. I don't know what he's planning, whether to send assassin or whatever. If he doesn't also feel in Juba that his own life also is in danger, he will never understand that violence is not the way. He will only understand when he also fear for his own life. When his own daughter is coming to him and said, Baba, I'm scared. When his son come to tell him, Father, I'm scared. I feel like I may be killed. Only when he feels like that, when he has that same feeling that every father and mother in South Sudan, every time when your child doesn't come home on time or is a bit late and it's 6 or 7 p.m. and you worry, has your child been grabbed by the national security? Has he been harmed by unknown gunmen? If Salva Kiir doesn't have the same feeling, the same fear, violence will always be part of our politics. So we will have to remove that. And we have to create the same vulnerability in him that he has created in us. That is the only way we can come back to the public realm where we can discuss politics, exchange ideas, and think about the way our country can go forward. But if Kiir believes he's the only one who is best at violence, did Majuk not die? Majuk died. But when Majuk shot the brother of Tutkeo, did brother of Tutkeo not die? He's made of the same blood and flesh like all of us. And this is what I told them last time when I was in Juba, because they used to threaten that they will shoot me like a dog on the street. And I told them, yes, you may try to shoot me like a dog on the street, but let me tell you, your body is not made of steel. You are made of flesh and blood like me. And if I shoot you first, you are going to bleed and you will also die. So don't threaten me with violence, because I have my own guns in Juba. If I want to take action, I can take action. Everybody is going to die sometime. I don't worry about death, because there are so many dangers that I got into, and I'm alive today because God has not said that my time has come. But when that time comes, I will embrace it. I will embrace it fully, without any worry whatsoever, aware that I have done everything I could possibly do for the benefit of my people. So I cannot be scared of violence. And I think, Junubin, what we have seen now, there is no way we can be scared of death. We cannot want to live more than they want to live. We are the one going to bed every night with empty stomach. With empty stomach. We are the one walking on foot in the hot heat of Juba, just to go about and look for things that our kids can eat in the evening. We are the one that goes to bed without medicine. We are the one dying without even chloroquine, or even paracetamol is not there. We are the one dying without water. Is our life that more meaningful than their lives? The lives of Thick Machar, who are sitting in the presidential palace, who are flying to Dubai every weekend to go and party? Imagine, just 2 weeks ago, this is very important to tell you. Secretary of the Minister in the office of the president, he decided to get married. The lady he's marrying is a Junubi. But because he's the secretary of the minister in the office of the president, they have so much money. So they want to do a special wedding. What did they do? They decided that they're going to do the wedding in Dubai. So they took the family of the girl, about 100 people, to Dubai. They take the family of the guy, about 100 people, to Dubai. They had to charter planes to take everybody to Dubai. You put everybody in the hotel. The cheapest hotel in Dubai is about $150. And then they realize in Dubai is a Muslim country, is an Arab country. They don't even have ghazees to come and bless the wedding. So they have to invite the clergy from Juba and put them on the plane and bring them to Dubai. Days people are in Dubai, they brought the clergy, they finally did the wedding in Dubai, and then they finally come down. That is the kind of life that they have. Is that life they have less than the misery we live in? Is that the life of misery we live more important? That somehow we are afraid of death than them? That Thick Machar can come on TV and threaten to shoot people that are going on the street because they cannot afford prices in the market. He threatened to kill them. Those are people going to bed hungry every night, whose kids are dying of malaria, whose kids are dying of COVID. They're dying of whatever because they have no medicine and they have no money. And because they want the president and the world to know that they are suffering, they go on the street, because no one is even allowed to see Salva Kiir. He's blocked from everybody. He's blocked from the citizen. Only the criminals at the presidency are the one controlling him. Is that life of ours, this misery life, more important than the life they live, that they can threaten us with violence? Do they control all the guns in Juba? Do they control all the guns in South Sudan? Do our guns shoot water? And only their guns shoot live bullet? Are we the one that have the water cannon? Are we the one with the tear gas? Are we the one with the rubber bullet? Do we have rubber bullet? Thiek said they don't have rubber bullet. I don't think anyone in South Sudan has a rubber bullet. So how can he threaten people as if we are the one with rubber bullet and he's the one with the live bullet? We need a mind shift. And we need more heroes like Galwag Majuk. Galwag Majuk gave up his life for a better South Sudan. He's a dreamer. He dreamed of a better future. And all of us who fought for the independence of South Sudan, we were dreamers. We dream of a better future. That dream now is what Salva Kiir has hijacked. And Galwag Majuk has just challenged our consciousness that we must take that dream back. We must be willing to give the ultimate sacrifice so that we can have a better tomorrow.
Thank you, Dr. Biar. Before we move forward, that means President Kiir actually is protecting himself with the family members. This is sad. For me, it's first time to know like Thiek is a member of national security. Do you agree with me now? This is family business because putting family staff in national security, in MI, in National Guard, that is the situation, right?
Yes, that is the situation. In fact, this is what I keep telling people. You know, when the national security was formed, Joror Oya Dengajak, who was the first Minister of National Security, he asked me, at that time I was at the World Bank, I was a World Bank economist. He asked me to come to the national security to help him set up the national security. He said intelligence is the most important thing in a country. And we are starting our country new. We have to get the intelligence right, because if we get it wrong, the consequences will be dire. I left my comfortable job at the World Bank and joined him. And you know what had happened before that? Akol has already been appointed. So he was already there with Thomas Duat. But Akol was the one with the real power. We came and clashed because we wanted to limit national security to only collection of information, collection and analysis, and the advice. I was very clear. The first law of national security that I drafted was very clear. National security did not have a power to arrest anyone. They did not have power to search anyone. They did not have power to even have big guns. In fact, we were arguing that national security should only have pistols because big guns are for the army. If there is a big deal, then we can ask the army for support. But they don't need to do the job of the army. But Kiir had a different idea. Kiir wanted to build a personal army that was loyal to him, that he will use to remain in power undemocratically. Because Kiir has always known that people are suspicious of him and he's not competent. So he knew that he was going to have a problem. He wanted to impose himself by power. That was the national security. And you have seen now with all these family members that I have mentioned, this is not even it. If you go within the immediate family of because it's called, his real name is Salva Kiir Kwetpeng. This Mayardit is only a nickname of his father. His real name is Kwetpeng, and then is Kwetpeng Thiek. This family of Thiek, if you take and count them within the organized forces, not just only in national security, but in the MI, in the CID, they're all over the place. But the place that they dominate the most is the national security. And by the way, all of them, they're in the national security. If you look in the presidency, they all put their children in the national security. All of these cabinet ministers, their children are in the national security. I know them. I have structure. I have the structure, how this thing is actually organized. I have it. So he has built a personal army, is loyal to him. His son are rising. It's like what Museveni did with his son that he's trying to do. And all of them have been put in a position where they can order use of violence, even though they don't really understand what it is that they are doing. So yes, it's a personal army. Thank you.
Actually, I want you to make a comment. Last week on Sunday, actually, 7 people, citizens, were killed, ambushed along the Juba Normally Road. And I think also there is many of them are critically injured, and 20% is missing, according to the iRadio. Who is responsible, Dr. Biar, for all this?
Honestly, it's difficult for me to say. I don't know personally. No group has claimed anything, but we know a lot of terrible killing has happened on Juba Nimili Road, both by the government and by some of the armed groups. And it goes back to the point that I was saying before. The violence that we are using against ourselves. We are killing our own people. We are not even going after the people that we said that we are angry at, the people that are threatening and holding the country hostage. I condemn what happened on the Juba Nimili Road. And that kind of violence will never allow us to go forward. Violence can only be justified, right? Justification is what matters. How do you justify killing innocent people, women and children, girls, kids, students that are going back to school? I don't think that one is justifiable. There is a kind of violence that can be justified, and there's a violence that cannot be justified. That violence cannot be justified. And I want to call upon the people of South Sudan. If you truly believe that the violence is the best way to go forward, this is not the way you do it. You go after the people. We have just been talking. And as I said, I'm going to release this report, including some of the people that are missing. There are people you will see in that report whose relative believe that they are missing or somehow they are in Blue House when they have been killed years ago. Years ago, they have been killed. They just don't know that they have been killed. We have to tell the people of South Sudan the truth about what has been happening. Because this regime of Salva Kiir, this is not the state. They have to understand there's a difference between a regime and a state. This is not a state. There are people now in Juba believe they are protecting the state, that they want to build a state. What is a state? A state is a collection of political beliefs. It has a vision. There is an ideal that they try to achieve. That is not what we have in Juba. You have someone that just wants to loot and for himself and his family and position his family to be able to control the rest of the people. This is what they're trying to do. There is no dignity in being loyal to that kind of arrangement. In fact, it's only shameful to serve that kind of regime. It is only shameful to serve that kind of regime. There's no dignity in it, only shame. Because this regime is just trying to destroy, break the will of the people of South Sudan, turn them to the worst possible thing, like the way we are now known as corrupt people, violent people, people that don't even value their country, that destroy their country and go to other people's country. That's what they want us to be known. So if we are opposing it, of course I agree, we have to use any means necessary to struggle. But it has to be justifiable. And there's no justification, there is no honor in killing women and children. There are people who did this, we know them, they are in Juba. They're not the only one with guns in Juba. If people want to go after them, go after them. But leave the innocent people of South Sudan alone.
Dr. Biar, what in South Sudan now? Can you call it government, or what are you calling it?
It's a regime. You have, it's not a government because it doesn't control the country, and it has no interest of controlling the country. All they want to do is to control the Juba Nimili highway, because they don't grow anything in the country. They don't produce anything in the country. So they rely on importing things from outside. So they want that route to be open. And then they only want to control Palach so that they are able to sell the oil. They use the oil to buy things from Uganda. The things come and they're happy in Juba. They don't care whether they control anywhere else or not. For them, it doesn't matter. They only want the resources, and then they only want the goods that they can get. It's not a government. In fact, and this is the thing, they are only a government because the international community recognizes them. This is the funny thing when they don't listen to the international community. The international community recognizes. That's why Kiir is called a president, and he's invited to a head of state meeting. But he's a guy that has never been elected by his own people. He's a guy that has no legitimacy because He was never elected. And legitimacy is not just only about election also. It's about performance of your promises to the people, which he has never. He's not a legitimate person. He's not you cannot call it a government in a proper sense. He has no vision. There is nothing he's trying to do for the people of South Sudan. President Kiir himself is involved in the smuggling of gold personally. We know this. And there are reports about it. In fact, more reports will be coming out soon that will show this in greater detail. Can you call this a government? I don't think it's a government. It's a regime. You have individuals, clique. It's a clique, or it's like a gang, because the logic it used is the logic of a gang. They don't deliver any public good. They only extract. They don't understand even what a government is, because Kiir is illiterate, more or less. He have learned how to read and write, but most of the time he really doesn't know what he's reading. He just read the words. He doesn't understand why a government exists. He doesn't understand the experiences of other countries, what they went through, and how to avoid the mistakes of those countries and only do what is good. He doesn't understand because he can't read. And no one respects him. No one within the region respects him. Everybody just see him as a tool to be used. And they do use him for their own end. And he's so blinded by corruption and fear of his own inadequacy. What you see, why Kiir hold grudge for such a long time is because he's so inadequate, and when he see what he doesn't have in others, it threatens him. It threatens him. This is why you always want to be the smartest person in the room. Now imagine a guy who cannot read and write want to be the smartest person in the room. So imagine who else is in the room. It's a bunch of idiots that end up and come and tell us bullshit every single time, because he doesn't want to be around smart people. He feels threatened by smart people, right? So even Riek now has to show that he's also an idiot by going along with all this nonsense, so that Salva Kiir can be comfortable with him. Because if you're a bit reasonable, you are a threat. And he will identify you as a threat, and he will begin to think about how to eliminate you. This is the way he functions. You cannot call this a government.
Thank you, Dr. Biar. I think you make the day of every South Sudanese today watching this live video. My last question to you, is non-violent struggle is still viable in South Sudan? I want you to make it clear to every South Sudanese watching this live video. And also I want you to connect that to the last Sunday demonstration in Cuba. People went out because they are not happy with the situation. One person was shot. 4 of them was detained by national security, and that actually made TIC come out on Monday to give that statement. So I want you to make it clear to the people of South Sudan, and also I want you to make comment on the call of opposition, the non-signatories to the people of South Sudan, also the calling about roundtable conference. What is your opinion about that? This is my last question, and when you finish, I will ask Amigo if he has a question for you, and then we are going to close the show. Thank you, Doctor.
Well, nonviolent struggle still has a purpose, but it has to change. It has to be different. It cannot continue the way that it has been talked about. It has to come in a very different form. Nonviolent struggle for us is the ideal form of struggle. But what we have now is a government that is willing to kill. Regardless of whoever they kill, they don't care. They're willing to kill, and they believe is the only way they can hang on to power. It shows how weak they have become and how vulnerable they are. And they are going to be removed, by the way. They're going to be defeated. They cannot continue for long after this. He thinks that everyone in national security is like him. He thinks that everyone in the SSPDF, the military and the police, is like him. But they are not. Some of those people, they have their kids who are sick and they cannot take them to the hospital. They have their kids and their wives that are going to bed with hungry stomach. They don't share the same reality with he. And sometimes, yes, they may do terrible things to please their bosses, like what they did in Mayom. But at the end of the day, these people can come to their senses, and they will come to their senses. They will not kill their own brothers at the same level that he expects them to do that. But even more importantly than that, we have to be able to integrate all tools of struggle. All tools of struggle has to be integrated for us to succeed. If violence is used, it has to be used strategically, and it has to be justifiable. It has to be justified, because sometimes, yes, violence is necessary. Without violence, we would have never got a better South Sudan. We have never got independent South Sudan. And now, to get the better South Sudan, it may be needed again. But it has to be used strategically, not to victimize vulnerable people and to destroy critical infrastructure. It has to be targeted at the people that really matter, so that the violence is used hand in hand with the nonviolent struggle to create the kind of political space so that we rebuild the public realm. I keep referring to this thing as public realm. That is not my own word choice. This is the word that is used by Hannah Arendt. Hannah Arendt was a 20th century political philosopher. He was a German Jew that grew up during the time of World War II. She fled into exile after Hitler came to power and the Jews were being targeted. She fled to France, and then finally she fled to the United States. And she wrote a lot of books. What Arendt was struggling with was trying to understand, how could politics have gone so wrong in Europe to the extent that it engulfed the world with violence in the form of World War II? This is what she was trying to look at. And what she found is something that is also the same with our situation, is when a minority group usurp power and make politics subservient to violence and use violence in a form of terrorism to terrorize the population. To counter that, violence sometimes is needed, in fact, but it has to be justifiable. It has to have rational reason that connects back to building a public realm. Her best book is called The Human Condition. I recommend anyone who is able to get a copy, get that book and read it. You will understand, because Arendt tried to remind this minority in the form of the Nazis, and you see the same struggle in the US now, especially what is happening with the Trump movement and the racial struggle in America. People forgot how America became America, how Europe became Europe. It was through violence. And when they forget that, it makes the reoccurrence of violence likely. And this is what Salva Kiir has done. He has no knowledge of European history. He has no knowledge of American history. But the ways in which he's doing things now is justifying to everyone why violence is necessary. So we as a people of South Sudan has to be strategic. When NAS supporters or people go and kill innocent Dinkas on the street, it gives Salva Kiir legitimacy. When we target ourselves based on tribalism, when people try to argue that the government in Juba and the Dinka people are one and the same, it gives Salva Kiir legitimacy. It makes him stay in power longer. But it is clear to everyone that these people, the government in Juba has just been using the Dinka people basically to terrorize the country, to terrorize the people of South Sudan. And once we understand that, let's forget about our tribes. Those in Juba, there are Dinkas, there are Nuer, there are Equatorian, there are Shuluk, there are Anuak, there is Mahdi, there are Murle. Everybody is there. But they are using the Dinka people to continue to loot. When they go to Dubai to divide the money, they are all there. So let us be strategic and let us use whatever mean of struggle we are going to use for a better country in a strategically integrated way, so that we are able to deliver to our people and bring about the better future.
Thank you so much, Dr. Biar. Actually, there is a lot of question, but because, as I told you, actually, I'm supposed to have appointment in 7 minutes. Actually, I will go late. If they allow me to go in, I will go in. Otherwise, I will reschedule it. But let me actually, there is a question here from Thiok. My question: if the violence is the only solution to protect ourselves and change the trained regime, do you think opposition forces should unite and fight the terrorist regime of Salva Kiir? That I think this question is very important. If you can make a comment on it, Doctor.
Well, first of all, violence is not the only solution. As I said before, violence is only good in its justification. Not violence alone, but how you justify it, for what purpose. And if those purpose has to be political, they have to connect to our struggle to create a better country and a better society. So the real struggle is political. Now, violence may be used as an instrument to get those political goals, but it's not the one, is not for its own sake, it's for the sake of the political goals. So yes, violence may become necessary, as I said, and it may be justified, but it depends on how it is used. If you are killing innocent people of South Sudan on the highway, that will not be justifiable, and that will be condemned. But if you use it strategically, like the late Wien is saying now, yes, art of war, that is very important. How do you use violence strategically so that you minimize the loss of life and you maximize the impact and the political reasons that it justifies? So that is the third part of your question. The second part is, yes, I agree the opposition forces should unite. In fact, I've been working on this. All of us now, we are working. This was one of the reasons why the United Diaspora Forum that I was telling you about was formed, is so that we can see whether the opposition forces can be unified. But I have to be very honest with the people of South Sudan, that sometimes even these opposition groups are part of the problem we have in South Sudan. They think the same way. They buy into the same ideology of Salva Kiir. So it may not be possible to unite them all. But what will happen is this. A critical mass of South Sudanese people are going to unite. Now, whether all the opposition people will join that critical mass or not, that is a different issue. But we are making sure that those of us that are fed up, that have endured so much pain at the hands of Kiir criminal regime, unite our forces. Because it's not about leadership. Me, I'm willing to do any manual work that needs to be done for this to happen. Whoever wants to be a political leader is not my problem. But for me, I want us to struggle together, shoulder to shoulder. Dinka, Nuer, Shuluk, Bari, all of us coming together and making sure that we dismantle this government in Juba through any means necessary. So I do agree with the call for a political conference. It may not be round table because, round table is like when you sit around the table, it's very few people. We don't want it to be a meeting of very few elites that come and decide what should be done. We want the chiefs to be there. We want the women groups to be there. We want the religious leaders to be there. We want the people of South communities to be there. Let communities be there. And let us come up with a viable way forward, because this regime is going to finish us. It doesn't matter even if you are from Bar Ghazal, because you see the logic of this regime is to use tribalism and regionalism to divide the people of South Sudan. And they will always use it. It doesn't matter. There's no end to it. As I was telling you, the division, which is the motto of Kiir regime, they're using it even all the way to the clan of Awan Chan. That division is still there. So we have to unite, and we are going to unite. That one I have to assure the people of South Sudan, and I promise you that I will do whatever I can to bring as many people together in ways that we can. I know everybody is trying to do their best to bring us together. I'm willing to join forces. Whoever is willing to join forces, I'm in touch with most of the leaders, and we have to come together. And we have to unite the diaspora. You have to unite our people, and we have to use all means necessary to liberate our country.
Thank you so much. Actually, before I actually ask you for your final message to the youth and to the people of South Sudan, let me ask my co-host, Comrade Amigo, do you have any question or any word to Dr. Peter Biar before actually we ended the live video and we'll continue in Clubhouse if there is people that want to come up and make comment. Amigo, if you are there.
Yes, thank you. Yes, thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mohandes Edward. And thank you, Dr. Biar, for your time. And also, let me also thank the audience in the Clubhouse, Facebook, and the YouTube. I think you covered so many things. I just only have a few comments, and maybe I will end it up with just a little question. And there is some other people also here in the Clubhouse. They want to engage on this discussion. They have some questions, and I don't know what's your time is going to be. First, I myself, I'm Amigo. I believe in non-violent struggle, and actually, you said it. All options are available there, and I don't disagree with that, because the history is full of examples that to demonstrate in a violence resistant or non-violent resistance for injustice and power and for dictators, there is two means. There is a violence or non-violence, and we've seen the Russians.
Amigo,
yes.
I don't want to stop you. Just I want you to ask the question because I have to go from here. I need to close the live video. And I don't know if Dr. Biar still have some minutes. He can join us in Clubhouse. Otherwise, you will make the statement. I think, Doctor, you have time to join in Clubhouse or no?
I will join later. There is something that I will need to take care of for now, but then I will join you.
Very good. Amigo, I think...
My last comment, let me ask him this question. Yeah. He said earlier something about Nas, Thomas Cirillo, and Dr. Riek Machar. They committed some violence against the civilians. Can you elaborate on that with some evidence, please?
Yes, no, of course we know what has been happening. I don't think anything in South Sudan is new. All I was saying is that violence that is directed against its target, that violence can be justified. We know the instruments of dictatorship that Salva Kiir is using. And we know that, for example, in 2013, when the conflict happened, innocent people were killed, both by the government and by the rebels. And when that happened, the issue became tribalized because it was seen as an issue of revenge. Innocent people that were not even part of the mess in the SPLM end up dying. One of my uncles, for example, Makwanya Ding, he was the county administrator in Akobo. He's a Dinka from Twitch East. And he was in Akobo when the crisis started. And when the crisis started, he and 40 other Dinkas who were in Akobo, they tried to run to a UN base. And that UN base was overrun by the supporters of Riek Machar, and every single one of them was killed. Now, these were killed because of ethnicity, because the word that got out was that the Dinkas have killed Nuer in Juba, which was true. I remember the people went door to door killing Nuer people, including children and women. So it was true. But the problem is now our people reacted with revenge by killing other Dinkas. And they did not try to understand that there are people in Juba who were responsible, not the people who are living with them in their own counties. So when we use violence against civilians, against people that are not really part of the problem, and we go and leave people who are part of the problem, they don't understand what violence is doing to the country. They only understand that the violence is destroying the country when they themselves feel the pain of that violence. And this is what I was arguing. Instead of attacking people on the street, because that has happened also with NAS. They have released a statement in the past where buses were shot and there have been condemnation. The CTSAM has released some of the reports of how that kind of violence has targeted civilians. So it's not something new that I'm saying. It's something that we have known along. And what I'm saying is, going forward, we have to be very strategic how we use violence to go after the strategic targets and people who are the one perpetuating this kind of crisis. These are the people that arrest journalists. These are the people that shoot the protesters. These are the people that are using unknown gunmen against the people of South Sudan. Those are the people that should be targeted, not innocent people that are trying to make lives meet.
Thank you so much, Dr. Peter Biar, for being here with us in the Voice of the People Forum. I want you to send message to the people of South Sudan. And also there is a request from Carl Nyadwal. He's saying, please, Dr. Biar, word for us we use because we've been blindfold since we was born. And also I want you to put in your consideration a lot of discussion going on in Clubhouse between South Sudanese youth. Me, myself, really, sometimes I feel sorry because the type of the kind of the discussion, sometimes I listen to it, it don't give any hope. They are insulting themselves using the word F, D, whatever those bad words, Dr. Biar. So please, you send message to the youth, those in the country, those outside the country, and they're supposed to be part of the change in the country. And then the final message, send it to the people of South Sudan and to the opposition. Thank you so much. Go ahead.
My message to the youth of South Sudan: you are abandoned by the people you call your leaders. They have no plan for your future. They have no plan for you. They do not even care whether you live or not, whether you prosper or not, whether you become somebody useful in the future. They don't care. It's as if you are on your own, and truly you are on your own. And when you are on your own, you grow up. You take responsibility for your action. And you prove people wrong, people who bet that you are not going to be anything, that you are going to fail. You show them that you are different, that you are made of different material, and that you are going to succeed. We as young people were abandoned. Our country is abandoned. This is not the kind of country we want. But we can no longer continue to complain and call on the so-called leaders to come to their senses, because they don't have any sense. We have to do the work. We have to do the hard work. So instead of us insulting ourselves, let us find where we agree and use whatever little agreement that we have to build a common action so that we struggle for a better South Sudan. Because otherwise our future will be destroyed, our dreams will be destroyed, and the future of our children will be destroyed. It's very important. And I want to call on the opposition leaders. Let's grow beyond our egos. There comes a time when people have to overcome their differences and embark on a common action. This is the time. This time has come now. So I invite all of you to join the people of South Sudan. Put your ego down. If you want leadership, this country can give you leadership. If you want power, not for your own sake, but to serve us, this country can give you that power. But we have to come together. We have to stop dividing ourselves. We have to stop helping the regime to divide us. We have to work together, and we have to realize that this regime is a threat to all of us. It's a threat to our lives, regardless of whatever tribe that we come from. Let us unite ourselves. Let us consolidate our ranks, and let us stand shoulder to shoulder and remove Salva Kiir. I'm glad, by the way, we are having this discussion in August, when we still have 6 months before the Kiir regime expires. This is good because it's going to give us time to mobilize ourselves. This is now the time for action, young people of South Sudan. You are the energy. You are the hope of this country. So don't lose hope. Your country is a great country. Your people are great people. You yourself, you are great people. Because imagine, without any support of government, without support of your institutions, you have achieved what you have achieved. When I see South Sudanese here in the diaspora, sometimes I shed tears because I understand where they come from and the struggle that they went through to be where they are. They are the most determined people that have ever come to America and that have ever come to the West. And one day, volumes and volumes of books are going to be written about them. They are not failures. Don't listen to Kiir regime. Make you believe that you are useless people. You are wonderful people. The potential that you have will light the world. So embrace that and let's use that first to free ourselves so that we engage with the rest of the world as a free people. You have seen what our basketball has done. Basketball team has shown the world the capacity of South Sudanese people. It's just only one area, Imagine all the other areas that we have. This country was meant by God to be great. It was always special. And when you are special, you go through challenges. Gold is special. For gold to shine, to become what it is, it has to go through fire, to be molded to its best form. That is what is happening to South Sudan. And I think time is near for us to truly embark on a new journey. That journey is upon us. We are calling all of you. We're inviting everyone, regardless of tribes, regardless of history, whatever that has happened in the past is not a problem, as long as we are willing to begin afresh. And I want to invite the people in Juba, the SPLA generals in Bilfam, some of the national security officers that still believe in the ideals of our liberation struggle. I want to invite them to join the people of South Sudan, not to forsake the people. I want to invite some of our ministers who are in the cabinet. Holding on to position in the cabinet alone is not going to make you a great person. But being with your people, shoulder to shoulder, struggling with them for the better future, that will cement your position in our history book. Let us not go for money, but let us go for our place in the history of our people. This is the challenge we have, and I invite all of you to join me and others who are already walking in this struggle so that we liberate our country. Why must we be in exile? It's our home too. Let's go back to our home. It has been a great honor, Edward Achek, to join you this morning with your colleagues in the clubhouse, Amigo. Thank you so much for hosting me. And I do hope that you invite me again soon so that I join again and participate with you in such important conversation. Thank you, and may God bless you and all the people of South Sudan.
Thank you, Dr. Biar, for being with us here. Really is a pleasure and honor. And you are welcome anytime, actually, to be with us again in the Voice of the People Forum and Facebook, Clubhouse, and YouTube. Thank you so much, and you have a good day. God bless you, and God bless people of South Sudan. Thank you.
Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.
Amigo, let's continue over there. Thank you, Doctor. Thank you.